Okay. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Group. For today's meeting, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
I will now read the members and ask for, or do a roll call, excuse me. So we'll start with City of Annapolis,
Eric Lashinsky, Chief of Comprehensive Planning, present.
Anne Arundel County,
Hi, this is Daniel Allen with the Anne Arundel County Office of Transportation Planner.
Baltimore City,
Here.
Baltimore County,
Hi, Deborah Price, Lead Transportation Planner with DPWNT.
Carroll County,
Hi, Tiffany Fawcett, Comprehensive Planning Division, Carroll County.
Harford County,
Lena Getz, Harford County Planning and Zoning.
Howard County,
Hi, Chris Etoff here, Bicycle Pedestrian Coordinator. Pat Smith is also here from our office.
Queen Anne's County,
Steve Chanley, Director for Parks and Recreation.
Maryland Department of the Environment,
Here.
Maryland Department of Planning,
Hi, Brooks Phelps, Maryland Department of Planning.
MDOT MHSO, MDOT MTA, MDOT SHA,
Here.
MDOT TSO.
Hi, Meg Young here for M.TSO.
Thank you, everyone.
Charlene,
Yes, but I forgot to say, sorry, go ahead.
this is Tanya. I just wanted to note that I'm present.
Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it. One more thing before we move on, I almost forgot. If there are any guests today that would like to introduce themselves, go ahead and speak up. We're done with roll call. Thank you.
Okay. All right, the minutes were sent out in advance of the meeting, and at this time, I'd like to go ahead and ask for a motion and a second to approve the January meeting notes.
This is
I'll
Meg
make
from M.Dot. Motion.
Eric, City of Annapolis will second.
Okay. All those who are in support of it signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying nay. All right, with that, then I go on the assumption that they're approved. We'll go ahead and move right along into our first presentation, which will be on the Spokane Bicycle Rack Program. At this time, I'd like to introduce our two speakers, Mr. Tyler Kimbrell and Mr. Colin Quinn Hurst from the City of Spokane Department of Planning and Economic Development.
Hi, all. Thanks for having us. I'm Tyler. I am a senior planner with the city. I've been with the city for 4 years now, and thanks for the invite.
And I'm Colin. I've been a planner here with the city for about 6 years, and yeah, excited to talk about this program. It's one of the funnest things we work on.
Okay. Yeah, so just a little bit about us. I guess if you can go to the next slide. We both work mainly in transportation planning for bicycle and pedestrian transportation planning. And the two images you're seeing here are projects that have been completed within the last couple of years. One is the reopening of a bridge that took quite a long time, but it was a key connection to our downtown area. Colin, first bicycle over the bridge just a few years ago. And then another first for the city of Spokane, the image of myself on the right is our first cycle track, which was opened up just a year or two ago. So we are making progress in developing new and interesting, or new to us at least, bike facilities. So yeah, we're excited to share that experience with you all. Next slide. Okay, so just a quick overview of the agenda. Really high level, I'm going to be going over kind of our bicycle master plan and bicycle advisory board and what they do and how they've influenced our bike parking program. Go over bicycle parking standards, which were amended in 2023. And then Colin will be talking a little bit about the wheel share program and future projects. Next slide. So just at a high level, the bicycle master plan was developed in 2017, much like Baltimore's bicycle master plan, which was amended in 2017, with a real focus on ensuring that those interested and concerned riders would have opportunities to both commute and recreationally ride their bicycle throughout the city of Spokane. By creating safe routes, buffered bike lanes, protected bike lanes, because historically we've just had kind of like on the image you're seeing on the right there, just striped bike lanes, 5 to 6 feet wide, which are very unforgiving and uncomfortable for most people. Next slide. So the bicycle master plan has 5 main policies, and I just included them all, but really wanted to highlight the third one there because it's most relevant to what we're talking about, is that the bicycle master plan highlighted the need for providing short-term and long-term bicycle parking. And obviously this is key for end of trip facilities. People won't ride their bike if they don't feel as if they have a safe, protected place to store their bike. Bikes are getting more expensive, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000 for e-bikes. People don't want to leave their bicycles out of sight, away from the main entrances, etc. Next slide. And then within that policy in particular, we have a couple action items. Most notably for the bike parking program is the need to increase the availability of bicycle parking throughout the city. And that's what our bike parking program really aims to do. I'll get into it more, but just at a high level, anybody can make an application. Doesn't matter if you own the building for which we're going to put a bike rack in front of, or if you're just a visitor. You can apply, and within 3 to 6 months we get a bike rack out there, as long as there's room to fit the bike rack. Next slide. So the bike rack program is also headed by the Bicycle Advisory Board. That is where we get most of our applications from. The Bicycle Advisory Board is made up of 11 members from 11 residents across the city, and they're responsible for developing our policies and goals in the bicycle master plan. They also review bikeway plans, so they can suggest, put a bike rack here because we're going to have a bike lane or go near a grocery store, a school, a park, etc. The Bicycle Advisory Board meets once a month. It's a pretty passionate group of folks that attend, and twice a year, as you see on the picture on the right, we go on bicycle rides just to go check out either bike racks we've installed or new bikeway facilities that have gone in the last year. Next slide. So our bicycle parking standards prior to the 2023 adoption were pretty slim. We didn't have any requirement for long-term storage, and we kind of just allowed anything that the builder was willing to provide. That changed quite significantly in 2023 with the introduction of both long-term and short-term bicycle parking. We define long-term as secured and weather protected, but it can be kind of external to the building or internal. There will be a couple internal examples in the last few years on the next slide, but before we go there, we significantly changed our bicycle parking standards to, for instance, be within 50 feet of a main entrance, whereas before it could kind of be anywhere on site. And that was really to get at the bicycle master plan policies where we need safe, convenient locations for people to store their bikes. We also have, some bike racks now that are not permitted, as you see on the image on the right. Anything that doesn't have 2 points of contact, or as we like to call them, the wheel benders, we don't permit anymore. And so part of the bike rack program is to recognize that a lot of folks and businesses who have installed the no longer permitted bike racks aren't required to update those racks just because we update our standards. So we can go in retroactively and install up to code bike racks for businesses, as long as the bike rack is within the right of way. We're not going internally and installing bike racks inside their place of business or residence. It's simply just within the right of way. Kind of our next steps on this, we included the long-term storage requirement, but recognize the need also that you should have more facilities than that, so showers and locker rooms and such, because you don't want to arrive to work sweaty, and you need a place to change, perhaps if you're coming from a far distance. So that's kind of next on our agenda to do. It was a little bit more controversial than simply requiring a long-term parking space, but yeah, next on the agenda. So next slide. And I think Colin is going to talk a little bit about this. Thanks.
Yeah. And since we started looking at updating the bike parking code around 2019, contemplating it, and several apartment buildings were going in that were on their own installing these types of long-term bike rooms. And so we talked with them to see, how they figured out the space, how many racks to put in, and then compared that with other codes that were out there as far as the ratios and layouts. And so these two examples were put in just before, or approved just before the code. So, I mean, they decided to do this on their own. They're low parking apartments who took advantage of us removing parking requirements, and decided to instead put in bike parking. So we use these as examples, and now we're seeing building permits come through that have these types of bike rooms, and starting to catch the need for these in pre-development meetings. When a site plan or a building plan comes through, we can kind of catch, you're missing the long-term bike storage. Here's different ways to accomplish it. And we've gotten a number of creative proposals as far as, the types of racks, the layouts, and people have a lot of questions about, the number of vertical versus horizontal, and we do require both, because we want some horizontal on the floor where you can just roll the bike up, like if you have a cargo bike or a long tail, so that there's space where you can just roll it up. You don't have to lift up a heavy cargo bike and try and attach it to the wall. And then also a certain number of vertical. And so we have spacing requirements to make sure handlebars aren't getting tangled up with each other, and enough space to maneuver around. But yeah, it's encouraging to start seeing these things get built. Next slide. Wheelshare is the shared mobility program that launched in 2018 as a pilot with Lime. And then we released an RFP in 2019 and selected Lime out of 4 proposals to be the vendor. So far, we've done 2-year contracts, and with the option to extend another 2 years. So we've renewed that twice for Lime. And then last year, we issued a new request for proposals and received 3 proposals. And Lime, again, just barely edged out the competition, and was selected again to be the vendor. And we're only having 1 vendor. And the requirement is that they pay us $17,000 per year to operate here, and then 75 cents per vehicle per day. And with a cap currently around 1,800 vehicles in the city, and that's made of scooters and bikes. But the good news is, that revenue has been climbing, and for example, got up to 300,000 in 2025. And they have incentives, like if they distribute helmets, if they have an equity program, if they're doing technological innovation, like smarter scooters that have cameras and are mapping the sidewalk, they get a discount. So they do receive a discount for doing certain things, but revenues kept climbing, and now the total since 2019 has reached a total income of about $1 million since that time, which starting to talk about real money at that point where we can actually do some things. But we've tried to be pretty conservative and to set aside a good chunk of that for future projects, like if we needed to do a pathway, for example. So up till now, we've done mostly bike parking. That's been the main program from the start. When we started with 20,000 the first year, bike parking was something we could do right away. And there's a requirement that we use these fees on improving the walking, biking, scooter network. It has to be somewhat related to the income, is what our code requires. We can't just spend it on something random. We couldn't spend it on like sewer improvements. So we have to use it on improving the network for the program. And so the bike parking program started in 2019 using money from Wheelshare and doing things like the corral that's shown here, because there's a direct connection to providing concentrated scooter parking. Yeah. A few other things we've used it for have been like detours, like when a pedestrian bridge was closed, we installed a two-way protected bike lane on an adjacent street to reroute people. When the Centennial Trail was closed briefly while the Post Street Bridge that you saw in one of the first slides was shut down for construction, we funded a paving project to do a detour for the trail for 3 years. And then we've used income from this also to do some studies and installations. So next slide. This is a kind of a quick snapshot of kind of high season for the program, like number of scooters available, start trips, trips per vehicle, and see, yeah, you can kind of get a feel for how much ridership is happening. Next slide. And you can really see the high season in summer. The low points are January, when we're usually covered in snow. And most of the scooters get removed from the street. They are allowed to operate in the winter, but it's pretty low. But then you can see the high season is, it really peaks in July, and that high season's been increasing every year. And so we're now at about 2.5 million trips. Next slide. And so it's kind of ramped up continually. Then the way we've done it, to get in the weeds a little bit, is 100 racks now. What we've done is we have 2 value blanket contracts. So we've set aside for like 2-year periods an annual amount, one for purchasing racks, so up to 20,000 per year to purchase racks, and we just kind of order them as needed in chunks of 50 racks or so. So maybe 2 or 3 orders a year as requests come in, up to that 20,000. And then we have another value blanket contract, which is it just says you can select a contractor or a provider, and you can work with them up to a certain amount each year. And there's a ceiling on how much you can spend, and that helps us budget. So there's a separate contract for installation of racks. And so it adds a little work for Tyler and I, because we have to receive the load of racks and get them to a city storage facility. But we set them aside, and then once we have a critical mass of bike rack locations, and we have the racks to do it, we call up the contractor that does the installations and say, when's a good time for you? Okay, we'll meet you at the storage facility. We'll hand off the racks and let us know when they're all in. And usually they get it done in a morning, or within a couple days at the latest, depending on weather. and then we go out and look at them. And it's, so it's a little wonky. It's not just, having a contractor buy materials and install them, but I think it saves us money because we can find the best price on the equipment and then work with the best price on the installation. So it's a little extra work for Tyler and I, but I think it keeps the costs pretty low. Because often installation contractors will mark up the cost of the racks. So we get to control the pricing a little bit on the racks. And next slide. Oh, and sorry, on this one real quick, you can see the form that people fill out. They'll just go to our website and it's a pretty quick form, where you're interested, what type of racks do you want? Do you want a bike corral or do you want it to be on the sidewalk? How many racks do you want? And then once we get this request, we'll follow up with them, go check out the site and get it on the list. One more step that I didn't mention is once we get it on the list, we work with the Public Works Department, the engineering department, and usually it's an intern in the engineering department who does the layout for the bike racks. So we'll tell them the location, and usually there's a summer intern from Gonzaga or another school who's here for 3 or 4 months, and it'll be their responsibility to help go look at the site, map it out, and then come up with kind of a scale drawing for the contractor. And okay, next slide. I guess the value blanket's gone up for the contractor as we keep doing more racks. But yeah, here's an example of Tyler and I throwing an order of bike racks into the service yard. So you can kind of see the pallets off to the side. And there's a question we get. It's like, why are you planners unloading bike racks and taking pallets to the dump? But it gets us out of the office. Next slide. And let's see. Oh, sorry, Tyler. I kept rolling. These are your slides. Go for it.
That's okay. Yeah, these are just some examples of, we go out there and install. The image on the left is adjacent to the Eastern Washington University downtown campus. And then the image on the right is just a downtown location, I believe. So as Colin mentioned, we have our contractors go out and install these racks which we purchase ourselves to keep down costs, as Colin mentioned. And I will note too, like we have the bike rack application. That doesn't mean that it'll necessarily be installed. Somebody could propose a location that just doesn't work, or for instance, a business owner really doesn't want in front of their business. We do go out and talk to folks and ensure that that bike rack is desirable. We have had many of instances where the business owner adjacent to where we're proposing to install a bike rack did not want a bike rack, whether it be for loading and unloading issues or just simply don't like people parking their bike in front of the business. So yeah, there's kind of a lot of moving parts to this, but I think it's worth it. Like I said, we've installed over 100 racks now, and is really providing the benefit to the people visiting these businesses. Next slide. Colin, back to you.
I'll keep it brief. We talked about this. These are just a couple examples of facilities that were funded by Wheelshare, where the price was right. It was within the range that we could fund, where it was like a quick installation, kind of a quick build type striping project, buy some planters. The one on the right, the beauty of the Wheelshare fund is that Tyler and I have a fair amount of discretion in how it gets used. We check in with accounting and Public Works just to make sure they're aware of what we're doing with it. But we're able to do things like purchase tables, purchase sandwich boards, planters, anything that's kind of making the environment better for walking, biking, and rolling. The streets department put those Jersey barriers out there. So kind of took this parking lane, made it a plaza for those restaurants and created a protected bike lane there as kind of an experiment. So, and we used the Wheelshare Fund to purchase the plant materials and do a similar contract with a local landscaping crew that came in, filled the planters, put the plants in, and then the Downtown Spokane Partnership, which is like our downtown business improvement district. This is right on the border of their maintenance area, and we set up a special contract with their watering crew to extend their watering service to these planters, and we paid them with Wheelshare funds to do that. But yeah, so the bike parking, there's a sign, that white sign to the right there says this is a bike parking area because there's a corral down there, and this open space is for scooters. So it all kind of goes together, and the more we can do projects like this that include bike parking, but also a facility, are the most rewarding projects, I think, that get the most use. Next slide. Yeah, since I took some of your slides, Tyler, do you want to talk about the bike lockers a little bit?
Sure. So a couple years ago, we installed kind of this test case scenario for bike lockers in front of City Hall. We initially wanted to make them public, but we soon found out that it's really difficult to manage the locks if you don't have remote access to the lockers. As you can see, like we only have U-locks on those. And we wanted to prevent people from either using their locker for months at a time without rotation, or potentially storing stuff in the lockers. So those lockers still exist, but they are only for city employees as of right now, because Colin and I can kind of manage access and keep track of whose locker is assigned to who. We've been in discussion with multiple different bike parking solution companies. One is Uni and Cycle Hoop, to get like more substantial bike parking in our downtown. I'll note too, our city hall is right next to within our downtown and right next to our largest park facility. So that's why we were thinking bike lockers at this location would make sense, because they could store their bike and go walk around the park. We haven't quite found the right solution for long-term bike storage within the downtown, but it is something we are actively working on and trying to figure out. It's just kind of difficult to find the right solution in the right location for it to all make sense. Next slide. Colin, I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, and so Spokane Transit Authority is actively working on bike parking as well. They've had bike lockers at their facilities for a while now, and they're kind of at the end of their useful life, where they're pretty banged up and they need to set up new maintenance agreements. So they're reevaluating their approach and shifting towards this mobility hub concept, where you have shared mobility, you have long-term and short-term bike parking at the highest priority transit park and rides. And so they're doing a study for 5-mile park and ride out at the north end of the city. And so where we are is talking with them specifically about how to make sure shared mobility, Wheelshare is there, but also about the bike lockers. If we could partner on selecting a bike locker vendor and RFID management system, where it's just one system for transit stops, for city locations, and for parks. Next slide. Yeah, I think that's about it for us. Thank you for inviting us. It's fun getting to talk with different groups.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Does anybody have any questions for Tyler or Colin?
I have a question or two. This is Chris Etoff with Howard County. Great information. We've done somewhat similar programs as bike parking programs in Howard County, although kind of grant funded, so they had a limited term. But in terms of the city government, spending funds to put bike parking on private property. Have you run into any concerns with that general concept? Has anyone pushed back and said the city shouldn't be spending money on that? They should get their own racks. So that's one question. And then do you continue to own the racks under agreement with the private entity, or do they own the racks once you've installed?
Yeah. So through the bike parking program, we don't do bike racks on private property. It's only installed in the public right of way. Our bike parking standards, for any new development requires both short-term and long-term parking. So as new structures are being built, that parking is being implemented. But yeah, we don't install outside of the public right of way.
Okay. So when you're, I guess, taking requests for bike racks, I guess, is that clear? I mean, I feel like in our county, we would get a lot of requests, or we did get a lot of requests for, shopping centers, strip malls, those kind of places to have bike racks that were private. But how do you screen those out?
Yeah, so they give us a general location, and then we typically install it, on the adjacent right of way, sidewalk, or within the uh, road if it makes sense to put, for instance, a corral in a parking space. But it kind of just depends. We don't have a ton of strip malls within the city. We have a little bit of along our main arterial division street, which is also a highway, but we don't typically see a lot of requests on that because on Division Street, it's actually prohibited to ride a bike. So
Yeah,
because it's a state highway.
Yeah. And like when we do get a request where they're clearly thinking they're going to get a rack at their front door, it's usually a conversation with that business. Like we had a brewery requested a rack and they wanted it right by their front door for security. And we couldn't do that. So we said, here are the options. We can do it here, here, here. And they just declined to get the rack. And they're like, that's too far away. Bikes are going to get stolen out there. We don't want it out there. So we'll pass. Which is kind of challenging. Like, I think that's kind of a heartbreaker where there's a willing partner and we just can't legally put it where they want it. But we haven't come up with a good solution for that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
It looks like Tanya has a question.
Yeah, we are in the process of trying to once again get bike, and I guess I like what you called it, wheelchair, back in Anne Arundel County. And we've had some issues with vendors just kind of going away, disappearing. And so we're going out for RFP, but it sounds like you guys didn't do it that way. You have what sounds like a permitting situation similar to Baltimore City where they pay you up front to operate. Did you do that through the code, your regulation? Did you have to change your county code or your city code?
Yeah. So we had a pilot that operated for 3 months and saw how it went in fall of 2018. And then we changed the city code to allow one vendor and it specified the annual permit fee. But we did say the city would select the vendor through a competitive process. And so we've done 2 requests for proposals to select that vendor. One was in spring 2019 and one was in spring 2024 to select that vendor. And both times we selected Lime. And I think we got pretty lucky that we chose Lime because we almost went with other vendors and none of them are around anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a little bit of a combination then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Eric, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate the presentation. I'm a planner and get involved in lots of these hands-on projects too. So I can appreciate how we can kind of come in as the utility hitter a lot of times. I was curious about how you've sort of managed to avoid stepping on toes of like public works folks, because it seems like, where we are, I mean, they've really managed the right of way, and that would be the issue. If I were to do something like that, I mean, we could make it work, but there would have to be a lot of communication, I think.
Yeah. At the beginning, we erred on the side of talking to more streets department folks. We'd have these group meetings of 7 or 8 people where they'd all review, the right-of-way manager, the maintenance manager, the streets engineer, streets director. They'd all weigh in on every bike parking location. And a lot of the bike parking got shut down. It was just like, no, we can't do it there. We can't do, and we kind of learned who our allies were pretty quick. And now there's just one person we go to in the permitting department, and he's kind of our conduit, and he decides who he's going to check with, but he kind of understands the practicalities. He's like, that's not going to be an issue. Like, he'll flag something if it's going to be an issue. But I'd say, what do you think, Tyler? 90% of the time, he doesn't find any issues.
Yeah, at least 90% of the time, it's like, yep, this location is fine.
Yeah. And I think the secret is that, one, finding the right people to work with, and two, is that our streets department really doesn't want to deal with bike racks. They're like underfunded, understaffed, they're kind of strapped, and they're like, fine, you want this? You guys deal with it. Good luck. We've broached the topic of them taking it on, just because sometimes we do find ourselves like, why should we be the ones doing this? Should we be the ones unloading the racks? There might be a better way to do this. And so it comes up, probably once a year, and ask them about their interest. And usually it comes down to funding. If we could get them more funding to run the program, they might be interested in doing it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Sounds like you understand what we go through.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely do.
Where are you located?
I'm in Annapolis, Maryland. And fun fact, in my previous work, I was working for a firm before COVID that had gotten hired to do the recreation master plan for Spokane, that then kind of went into a tailspin during COVID. I was project managing.
Oh, wow.
I had some very fond memory. I went to Spokane a couple of times as part of that, and then
Nice.
moved out here. So yeah, it's a beautiful city.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
Hopefully that turned out okay. And it was more rec and parks, but
yeah, no, it turned out, I think everyone's really happy with it. So yeah, come on back anytime.
Look forward to it.
All right. Well, not seeing any more questions. I want to thank Tyler and Colin for your presentation. I definitely appreciate that. Right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Moving on to our next presentation will be Baltimore Dockless Vehicle Program Update, and that will be given by Tyler Smith from Baltimore City Department of Transportation.
Hey, everybody. I'll be your second Tyler presenter today. Quick note to Charlene, I sent you a more updated slide deck in case I'm not able to present mine. And also program note, I cannot turn on my video right now. I apologize for that. So let's see if this shows what I want. Can you all see my opening slide right now?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, cool. So we're going to talk about the Baltimore City Dockless Vehicle Program update, mostly some metrics from last year where we had a meteoric rise in ridership, as well as a little update on what's been happening this year. And I'm going to go into some detail about a research report that Lime performed for Baltimore City that shows some of the impact of building new protected bike lane facilities, the impact of those on dockless ridership. So let's get talking about it. So yes, our program's goals are to set clear expectations for our two operators. We currently have Lime and Spin operating in this market. And our low income program for discounted fares is called the Access Program. So increasing the number of people who are able to take advantage of that 80% discount on fares is one of our goals as well. We're looking to ensure the entire fleet of vehicles are safe and operable. And so I actually personally inspect these vehicles monthly and send a report to the operators, and they can be in danger of losing automatic renewal of their permit if they were to have too many failed inspections. We also work to make sure that there's transportation alternatives to the entire city of Baltimore, not just the downtown core, and not just what is called the white L, which is like literally a capital L letter shaped part of Baltimore that traditionally is higher income and sees more investment than the rest of Baltimore City. We also check for compliance regarding the condition of the fleet, as I mentioned, but also the distribution of the vehicles across the city. Again, making sure that not all of them are just clustered around the downtown core, but that in fact the entire city has access to these vehicles, as well as issue response times. For example, if a vehicle is reported as blocking a private entrance or something like that, which I like to call misparking. How quickly are the permit holders able to go retrieve the vehicle and put it in the correct position? Also, not just looking to see that these vehicles are all over the city, but that they're in places where there are a lack of options for public transit. Roughly about 20 to 25% in that area of Baltimore City residents do not have a private vehicle. So it is really important that everyone is able to get around town. And then we also work with stakeholders to address concerns about the program, like missed parking. So as I mentioned, Spin and Lima are our two current operators, and these are the numbers of vehicles that they have available on our streets. Of course, we allow them to draw down during the winter as they see fit, but they do operate year-round. And this is the maximum number of vehicles per vehicle type that each company is permitted to make available for rent. The e-bikes are something that we are looking to expand the number of in this market in general. We find that they remain popular even during the winter months at a higher rate than the scooters do. They also allow for longer trips, and because they have seats and they all have throttles so that you're not required to pedal the vehicle to proceed, they open up the universe of people able to use these vehicles to get around the city. So yes, last year was a record year for ridership in Baltimore City. We had over 3 million rides, which is a near doubling of the previous record, which occurred in 2019 before the pandemic. So we are back and bigger than we have ever been in the past. And as you can see, the trip distance is roughly 4 million miles, average trip distance being 1.3 miles, and the average trip duration being 10 minutes, 30 seconds. So that's going to get rounded up to 11 minutes by the operators. And then we've got, roughly 200,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent saved as a result of that. And so here is a graph showing rides and program history by month. And as you can see, our highest ridership month was August of last year when we had 383,000 rides. The previous highest month being back in 2019. Again, just seeing rapid growth in the adoption of these vehicles as a transportation mode in Baltimore City. A lot of that has to do with big increase in the number of vehicles available back in 2024 in July, as we added an operator line and added a lot more vehicles to the network. And yeah, 7 of our highest ridership months occurred in 2025. Oftentimes it's October that's the highest ridership, but it can also be August or September. Those tend to be the highest ridership months historically across the program. Couple of photos here from Federal Hill Park overlooking downtown Baltimore with both of our operators' vehicles. And despite suffering a massive blizzard, which you can see sort of at the bottom of the graph on the right, where we actually had a system shut down for a few days, we are still seeing 20% higher ridership this year than we did last year. And there was not a big difference in the total number of vehicles on the street between those two time periods. So probably anticipating another record year coming up, fingers crossed. But yeah, 20% higher. Something else that I'm doing is making sure that our preferred parking areas, which we call corrals, are restriped and made, visible to the public. This is a preferred parking area. This is our attempt to show people what we would like them to do as opposed to what we would not like them to do. And riders are supposed to receive a discount for parking in these corrals so that we give them a bit of financial incentive to do so. And both our corrals have signage sort of indicating some of the basic program rules. We want to make sure we leave 4 feet of space on our sidewalks to ensure ADA compliance. And we encourage, riding on the street, not on the sidewalk, unless they're on a street where the posted speed limit is over 30 miles per hour. And we don't want them blocking doors, driveways, transit stops or station entrances. And of course, we don't want them taking the scooters into buses or trains or stations. And our website also provides the graphic on the lower right, indicating, what we would like to see folks doing in terms of good parking and riding behavior. So we won a sort of like a research grant from Lime. And they took a look at Baltimore City's expanding protected bike lane network and what the impact was on dockless vehicle ridership for Lime as a result of those infrastructure additions. So I'm literally just going to read my quote here. So rapid growth in micromobility, specifically the surging popularity of dockless e-scooters and bikes, has fundamentally reinforced the city of Baltimore's commitment to safety for every user of our transportation network. We're on track to exceed 3 million rides in 2025. The city's Department of Transportation has clear data demonstrating a direct correlation that when we provide safer, connected infrastructure, ridership thrives and safety incidents decline. Our participation in the Mobility Insights competition reaffirms our belief that investing in a robust micromobility program, along with safe and protected biking infrastructure, directly increases how residents move throughout the city. This partnership has provided us with valuable insights that will be instrumental in structuring our future complete streets and dockless vehicle programming so that city streets are more accessible, connected, and suitable for all. A big takeaway from this report is that what we call bike lanes and the biking infrastructure is not limited to bikes. Of course, e-bikes are among the dockless vehicles we have available in the city, but the vast majority of them are scooters. And, we can sort of reframe who is using our bike lanes by expanding the idea of what vehicles are taking advantage of them. And it is very clear that not only bikes, but also scooter riders prefer to ride in a protected bike lane. So the graph you see in the center, if you can see that, is showing a 207% increase in ridership in the segments of the city, which are highlighted in green on the map on the right, where we have new protected bike infrastructure in place. This is a very high percent increase. It's actually far outpaces what was seen in the other 2 cities as part of this study, which was Nashville and Phoenix. And I think a lot of that might have to do with the fact that Baltimore in general is a denser city. And some of these segments that we put into place are at crucial east-west crossings of the interstate that runs through the middle of Baltimore City. For example, the 28th Street segment is really one of the only safe for cyclists ways to get across that interstate in Midtown Baltimore. So you just see a ton of rides funneling through there, which we're going to see in a moment. But as you can see, those that had a pre-existing bike lane only saw a 4% growth. The new bike lane segments saw 207% growth in ridership, which is, of course, a very high number indeed. And this got some attention. There is a Streets blog article by Kia Wilson showing the results of this report and just sort of underscoring for lots of other cities that, while you might not anticipate a 200% increase in ridership in a new protected bike infrastructure, you can anticipate probably at least 30% and somewhere between 30 and 200% growth. And this is the graphic I was referring to. This is something I don't have access to through my data, but Lime does. And they are apparently willing to do this for other jurisdictions as well, where they operate. So this shows the breadth of routes that can go through this section of 28th Street that is protected. And this sort of belies the idea that protected bike lanes are just for the people that live right in that immediate area. You can see that there are trips going through this segment from across the entire city. North, south, east, west. Folks are taking long trips on these vehicles and going out of their way to use the protected bike infrastructure because it's just that important in terms of making them feel secure on their trips. So yeah, this segment in the center with the white dot on it, that's the core segment that all of these trips went through. And that is the eastern edge of what's called the Big Jump, which is a major infrastructure investment from the city. You can see the concrete barriers. There is, in fact, striping and signage inside of these. This photo was taken while they were actually replacing the plastic barriers you can see on the left of the photo on the left with the permanent concrete barriers you see on the right. And these concrete barriers are also continue across the bridge that passes over Interstate I-83, which really bisects Baltimore City in the middle of town. We also saw not only an increase in ridership, but a decrease in safety incidents at about a 27% rate in those protected bike lane areas. So this is tracked via incident reporting within the app by the rider. My understanding from Lime is this is also tracked from, telemetric data or, geo data in terms of on the vehicle itself. They can kind of tell if the vehicle suffered a safety incident mid-trip based on its position and its velocity. So you can see that, just a big reduction in the number of safety incidents as a result of the introduction of new protected bike infrastructure or scooter infrastructure, if you will. Lime also took a look at connections to mass transit, trips that started or ended within 50 meters of our rail network, which is the MARC train, the light rail, as well as the metro stations, which is like our subway line, as well as bus stops. The trips right on average in terms of the distance regarding them. But this is kind of showing that we are seeing micromobility being used as a connection to mass transit. And it is not necessarily something that is taking away from mass transit, but it can in fact expand the number of people who are able to take advantage of mass transit. Not shown here, but we also saw, compared to other markets, Baltimore City has a large number of rides occurring during the morning commute time, which also suggests that a lot of residents are using micromobility to get to work in the city. All right, switching gears. Just wanted to show one of our graphics explaining how heavy a discount anyone receiving federal benefits like SNAP or WIC, they're able to enroll in what we call our access program, which amounts to about 10 cents per minute, regardless of the operator. We have written this into our rules and regulations for the program. So we got both operators together. They were able to agree to an 80% discount. That's can be limited to only 4 rides per day. They were concerned about DoorDashers, for example, using this all day long for their work and potentially, really cutting into the company's profits. So, this is limited to 4 trips per day, which should be enough to get you, to and from work, to and from school, and then maybe out to the shop or whatever you might need to do at night. But this is something we're looking to increase the percent of riders that are taking advantage of this. This should be about 20% of all riders if it was to be reflective of the city as a whole. Currently, we're at about 4%. So one of our big projects here is to help get the word out about this discounted program for income qualified residents. I also just had the opportunity to go to the NABSA conference last year in Montreal and give a little bit of a talk about the measures that we have in place to try to make sure that, as I mentioned before, this DACA's program is something that is available to all residents of the city. Meg Young, who's on this call, actually was holding down this program for the city a few years back and was able to create this framework that encourages wider adoption of the system across the entire city. There's this concept of the white L and the black butterfly in Baltimore City, and there's lots of things that are really concentrated in the white L, like banking access, groceries access, the number of 311 calls that are for rat infestations are lower in the white L, for example. There's just a lot of different socioeconomic indicators that show a big difference between certain parts of Baltimore and other parts of Baltimore. And we didn't want the Dockless Vehicle Program to be another thing like that. But as you can see in the slide here, in 2019, when this program started, you can literally see the shape of the L on the image on the left. And this was before a lot of these measures went into place, like monitoring compliance for the distribution of the vehicles. So we split up this, they split up the city into different districts, and no less than 5% of an operator's fleet can be in any one district, and no more than 25% of an operator's fleet can be in any one district. So the operators, do have to make sure they're redistributing the vehicles throughout the entire city. There's also these equity zones that were identified as historic gaps in mass transit, places where there's not a ton of options for other modes to get around town. And those are essentially mandatory deployment areas where the operators must deploy 4 vehicles per operator every day between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. So that in these areas, there is always a visual reminder that, hey, a scooter or an e-bike is an option for me to get around. And then, of course, the access program was put into place to provide discounted fares for residents that are not able to afford micromobility otherwise. So on the right, you see last year's ridership, which is really just kind of a map of Baltimore City. The concentration of the rides is no longer in the white L. It is across the entire city, spreading into the black butterfly, just sort of demonstrating the success of the measures that were put into place and that we work to maintain, to make sure that the operators are serving the entire city and not just the downtown affluent areas. So looking ahead, we're still looking to grow our ridership in the access program. And it is a constant struggle to make sure that people are parking these vehicles properly. There are other things we are doing toward that I wasn't able to cover in this presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions about that once we're done with this, which is momentarily. As I mentioned, looking to grow the e-bike fleet because it expands the distance you can travel. It expands the universe of people that can use these vehicles, as well as expanding the protected mobility lane, aka bike lane network. And then make sure that once we have them in place, they are in fact well maintained and not full of broken glass, for example. And I've got links here at the end if you'd like to see more. This presentation has been shared with BPAG, so they can make that available to you all. So that is my presentation. How do I turn it off? My goodness. End slideshow.
While Tyler's looking to turn it off, I'll ask if there's any further questions for him about his presentation. Looks like Catherine has her hand up.
Yeah, hi. This is Catherine with MDE. Really, really cool presentation. Really, really great news that the program is doing so well. It's funny because in my master's program, I actually ended up writing a paper on shared micromobility, specifically e-scooters in Baltimore. And I remember one of the challenges I personally had during my like literature review was the lack of studies looking at like quantifying these emissions reductions. So just for my own personal sake, I was curious how you all dealt with that, and how you came to that 200,000-ish kilograms of CO2 equivalents.
So, Populous is our data middleman, if you will, because, we need to be careful to protect riders' privacy. I don't have access to, the names and home addresses and credit card information for every rider in the system. So what happens is Lime and Spin give their data through an MDS agreement to Populous, and then I'm able to access that data that's been anonymized enough that I can't single out anyone. I access that through Populous. And Populous actually has a whole explanation of how they came to this calculation of the kilograms saved. But I believe it's essentially a just sort of a rule of thumb that I think it's about 1/3 of rides are replacing a vehicle trip, and then they really just take it from there. If I have a minute, I'll try to pull up the there's a whole explanation on Populous about how they do this, but that is essentially it. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Meg Young knows the answer exactly.
Hi, Tyler. Hey, great presentation. I don't know how Populous calculates it, but I was going to put in the chat that FHWA's CMAC program has an emissions calculator that includes shared micromobility. So that might be easier than recreating a complicated formula, because it's like, I think it's an Excel table, and you can put in different aspects of micromobility programs to calculate the impact they might have on emissions.
Okay. Wow, very cool. Thank you both for the info.
All right. Any other questions for Tyler? All right. If not, thank you very much. And we'll move on to our third and final presentation, which is Bike to Work Week 2026. And Miriam Sultan will be presenting.
Hi everyone. Can I share my screen? Got it. Let me get that open. So I'm sure you're all familiar with Bike to Work Week now, and I'm going to be providing an update on the planning process so far. So Bike to Work 2026. The Bike to Work schedule will be running from May 11th to May 17th, with the official Bike to Work day being Friday, May 15th, although we'll have events all week long. Registration will open April 1st, so keep that date on your calendars. Our sponsorship deadline was February 27th, and we met our goal. We'll talk more about that later, so we're really happy about that. This month, we're going to be finalizing the local events and celebrations and the pickup shops that are partnering with us. We're still looking for ideas. Going to give a bit more detail about that in a later slide as well. So the two kinds of signups we're looking for now are for live pit stops and pickup shops. So what we call live pit stops are events held at specific times during the week. This can be, for example, let's just say a coffee shop has a table outside and they have it there from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. On the table, they have, our shirts, which we will have sent to them, the Bike to Work Week shirts, maybe a few little safety things like bells or lights, some snacks, maybe some free coffee, some oranges, some granola bars. And then people who are biking to work in the morning of whatever day of the week that is can stop at that pit stop and scan to check in, grab their shirt, grab a snack, say hi, and go on to their commute. Could also be a bike from work pit stop sometime in the evening when people are biking home from work. Another type of live pit stop is a group ride where people gather together, ride together to a certain location. Since Bike to Work Week covers the weekend as well, not all these events have to be related to actually going to and from work, can be supporting biking to anywhere. Our subtitle is Bike Anywhere. Last year, we also had Bike More hosted an open mic storytelling night, and a lot of the jurisdictions host press conferences where, say, the mayor comes out, talks about biking, and different people who work in city government, and people all bike there and gather. T-shirts will be distributed there, and we'll send them to any pit stop that registers. Pickup shops are bike shops, and they're open for people to drop in all week long in the hours the shop is open. Also, safety materials could be handed out here, and it's another place for people to sign in and get their shirts. Good advertising for the bike store, gets people in. In 2025, we had 24 live pit stops throughout the region, including 16 in Baltimore City, 2 in Baltimore County, 3 in Anne Arundel, 2 in Hartford, and 1 in Howard County. 18 pickup shops partnered with us, and we had 11 event sponsors. This year, so far, as of this morning, we have 20 pit stops registered. This includes 8 in Baltimore City, 5 in Baltimore County, 3 in Anne Arundel, 2 in Hartford, and 2 in Howard. We don't have any pit stops so far in Carroll and Queen Anne's counties, but we really would like to for the whole region to be represented. So if you're a representative of that county, do reach out. And we have just yesterday 9 new pit stops signed up, so I had to update this presentation this morning. This is the name of the pit stops. So, BMC is having their own pit stop. There's a pit stop in Catonsville, for example. Annapolis Market House, Velocino Bike and Coffee is having one. The library in Baltimore City always participates. Some of these are bike shops who will be open during the week as pickup shops, but also have a specific time where they're tabling as a pit stop. As for pickup shops, these are the numbers here and the names of the shops. We have representation from Anne Arundel County. 6 shops have partnered with us. Next most is Howard County and Baltimore County with 3. Queen Anne's County and Baltimore City having 1 pickup shop each. As for pickup shops, we're looking for representation from Carroll and Hartford counties. The last shop that signed up was on 3/13. And we're keeping our registration open until the end of the month in case any more shops want to sign up or any pit stops. Speaking of sponsorship, we have 4 levels of sponsorship, which if people sponsor at these different levels, they have different size logos in the back of the shirt, different size logos on the website, and different amounts of promotion we do of the sponsor. Our minimum goal for holding the event this year was $22,000, and we have achieved $23,500. So that means we'll be able to hold the event this year again with the amount of t-shirts that we need to buy. There's some in-kind sponsorships as well, where, for example, a bike shop could donate supplies, or a sponsor could donate time for hosting an event. The spending is on t-shirts, raffle winners, and advertising is a big spending category as well, paying for ad promotion in different forums. So what we're asking for is for you all to help spread the word. We have flyers that you can share on your social media and graphics that can be sent out after this meeting. Save the date at biketoworkmd.com. And I'm gonna share in the chat the application for pit stops and pickup shops. So if you have an idea for those, you can apply through the form. This is what our flyers are looking like right now for save the date. And then when registration opens, there'll be different flyers that say registration open, register here. The t-shirt, really exciting for anyone who hasn't seen this. It's going to be this sort of mint green blue color. The fabric will be a performance fabric, breathes easily, and the logo is in green and blue. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Again, does anybody have any last minute questions about Bike to Work Week? All right, So therefore not seeing any, we'll go ahead and move on to a roundtable discussion. And we'll go ahead and start alphabetically, and we'll start with the city of Annapolis. I guess we don't have anybody there. so-
Yes, I'm
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry.
here. No, it's okay. This is William. I also have Eric Lashinsky, who previously commented on here as well. We are signed up for another pit stop. I just haven't received word back yet, but it's going to be on our Poplar Trail and will include, a table, some music, and some other things where people will be meeting up. So we're really excited about that. Of course, we're also partnering with the one at Market House, and because we have construction happening at our city dock, it has altered a little bit of what we have done in the past. But I think we'll do pretty good at Market House, and the mayor will be out there as well. The other is a reminder that on May 1st, we're having an Access Annapolis Symposium, Mobility for All, which is focusing on equitable transportation. And that includes bike, pedestrian, and micromobility. So that's May 1st. Please be on the lookout for information on that and register. It's free to attend at the Graduate Hotel in Annapolis, Maryland. So thank you all. Also, the other is I wanted to comment on Tyler's presentation, which was very informative and makes me feel really positive about the possibilities for our new process of attracting a vendor to come to the city of Annapolis. So if anyone has any insight, I know Meg has in the past been very helpful at providing me information. So I just wanted to put that out there that hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have some bikes and scooters in the city again really soon. So thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on, Anne Arundel County.
Hi, yeah, this is Tanya. We also are trying to get bike share and scooter share back, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm in the process of doing the RFP for that. We are gearing up to implement our Safe Routes to School coordinator grant funded position. I've got the scope written. I think we're hoping to get the person in by July 1 in coordination with the new fiscal year. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's grant season, as everybody knows. So we're just trying to figure out what projects we want to do for like bikeways. I know there's not a lot of money this year for that one. So we're probably going to do something on the small side or ask for something on the small side. Can't really think of anything else that's big that's going on.
Okay, well, thank you. Moving right along to Baltimore City.
All right, hello, John here. So after hearing Tyler's awesome presentation, that's probably his full update, I would assume, unless he has more. For me, just a quick, if you follow the Washington Street traffic calming and cycle track project, I just sent the Street of Baltimore page in the chat, and currently, we're working on final design for it. We should be complete by winter of 26, and then in late 26, we want to start our construction. So that's our only really concrete, no pun intended, update for Baltimore City. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Baltimore County.
Hi, just some high level updates for us here at Baltimore County. We recently had a Red Run Trail public meeting just to discuss the 50% design for that trail. We are just signed the Bloomsbury Crossing MOU with the state to start construction for that. So we're really excited about that to finally have something on the ground. And the other one, we just applied for a grant for our old court, excuse me, road complete street project, looking to get it 100% designed. So we're waiting to hear back from that. That's all for Baltimore County.
All right, thank you. Carroll County.
Hi, we have nothing new to report at this time.
All right, thank you. Harford County.
Hello, everyone. This is Cyril. There's nothing much to report at this time, other than we've already started preparing for the live pit stop event for the Bike to Work Week 2016, which is take place in Bel Air at the Harford County Administration Office. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Howard County.
Hi, this is Chris Eatoff with Howard County. The main thing we're working on is an update to the Howard County Bicycle Master Plan, which we call Bike Howard. So we have a 10-year-old plan currently that we're updating this year. We just wrapped up a series of public workshops, 3 public workshops for that, for the Bike Howard update. And we have some materials posted on the bikehoward.com website, so that people can also contribute their input and ideas online. We have a map and a survey there that's been being well populated. And we hope to be able to get that plan drafted and over to our county council for the adoption process this summer. Our other update is pretty much the same as the Anne Arundel Safe Routes to School update that Tanya gave. We're working on the hiring of a Safe Routes to School coordinator also, grant funded through MDOT. And we have the posting, getting the posting ready, the job posting, and we'll be doing that soon. And we're hoping to hire and have somebody up and running on July 1st of this year. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And I will do Queen Anne's County. We're continuing to expand the Kent Island South Trail, what we call Phase 3. We're hoping to get that paved within the next couple of weeks. And then after that, we will hopefully finish design of Phase 4. And that right now is in engineering. We're hoping to get a bid out hopefully in the next couple of months and start construction in the fall. Maryland Department of the Environment, MDE.
Hi, no updates from me today. Thank you.
Thanks. Maryland Department of Planning.
Hi, no updates from us.
All right. The Highway Safety Office. I guess we'll go ahead and move on from there. MTA. All right. Continuing on, SHA. All right. Let's see. How about the Secretary's Office, MDOT Secretary Office?
Hello, yes, this is Meg, and I do have a couple of updates that I suppose are also updates in conjunction with our modes. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of links in the chat. But from the top, we've just kicked off a bike ped counter project. So we are going to be integrating bike ped eco counters into our traffic monitoring system, which eventually feeds into our statewide transportation model. So if anybody wants to talk about bike counters, please let me know. That is something that's fundable through Bikeways as a minor retrofit project. And Baltimore City has done 2 rounds of installs, so they have a lot of experience with them. We also announced our round 3 of PSAP projects, and with that, all 3 of our 23 high injury corridors have projects in motion, and SHA launched a project portal page that summarizes all of those projects that are addressing VRU fatalities. For micromobility, we published our regulation overview of micromobility laws in Maryland. So that is live on our website, and we have a safety group that's meeting monthly right now to develop materials about e-bike and e-scooter safety. Then looking ahead, This Thursday, we have an MDOT in Motion webinar about Complete Streets implementation, featuring Candice Holford from my office, Luis Gonzalez from our Office of Highway Development, talking about some of our new guidance documents that are being released soon, and then Joe Mogis representing Montgomery County. And then a couple mentions of grant season. The TAP and Rec Trails grants are going to be open April 1st through 30th, and Bikeways is going to be open mid-April through May. Safe Routes to Schools is a subset of TAP, and we are still interested in meeting with any jurisdiction that wants to join the cohort of Safe Routes to School coordinators alongside Baltimore City, Howard County, Anne Arundel, and Prince George's County. So we have a new website for Safe Routes to Schools that explains the pilot a little bit, and that's going to be in my long list of links. And I think that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you. And last but not least, BMC.
Thank you. The Patapsco Regional Greenway Cherry Hill project for 30% design is getting ready to proceed with survey work. The PRG Henryton Road 30% design project, the phase 1 public comment period is currently open until April 6th. Just dropped a link in the chat. And a few other updates sent by email that we're working to get feedback on potential BPAG initiatives. So we have a short survey for our BPAG members that I'll resend out. We'd like to get your feedback on what we should focus on. And we're also collecting location requests for the Regional Active Transportation Count Program for spring counts. So you can just email that to me and we can work together to figure out those locations. And I think those are my updates. Miriam and Keith, did you have anything else?
Thanks for the updates, Charlene. I also wanted to highlight that the public meeting for Henryton Road is taking place next Monday on the 23rd at the Carroll County Public Library in Eldersburg, and it will be taking place between 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. If you go to the link that Charlene sent, you can register for the public meeting as well. And we'll be discussing the preliminary idea of this spur, the Patapsco Regional Greenway, and it'll be a good time. Come out.
Sounds like that's all for BMC. Thank you.
Before we conclude our meeting, and just remember, May 20th is our next meeting, and I'm sure Charlene will be sending out invites. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.